Hi, this is Anthony from Over 40 Health and Fitness. Life is more than just the grind. What I mean by the grind is, life is more than just going to work, saving money, trying to get ahead, setting goals, trying to achieve those goals. Life is about experiences. Life is about building experiences. We're all going to die one day. We want to go to our grave with as many experiences under our belt as we possibly can. Sometimes those experiences are going to cost money, sometimes they may not cost a lot of money. But along the way, while you're building experiences, it'll be easier to stick to your goals, going to work and making money, earning money, saving money. But you need to build those experiences, that pool of experiences along the way. Quite a few years back, I was planning a trip with my wife to Europe, and we were going to be in Vienna for 3 or 4 days. And I thought this would be my opportunity to visit Arnold Schwarzenegger's childhood home, because I've always been a big fan of Arnold. He's from a little village called Thal, which is just outside of Graz. Graz is about 3 hours by train from Vienna. Vienna is the biggest city in Austria, and Graz is the second biggest city as far as I'm aware of. So I was in Austria, I was in Vienna for about 3 days. I think we were there for 4 days, and I was waiting for some good weather. And it was kind of overcast and a little bit rainy and a bit cold. Anyway, I waited to the 4th day. This was my last full day in Vienna, and I woke up very early. I knew that I'd have to catch the train very early from Vienna to Graz to have a day there to see what I wanted to see. And it was raining as I was walking to the train station, which wasn't too far from the hotel I was staying in. Anyway, I got there and I got on the train, and I caught the train to Graz. It was about 3 hours. And when I got out of the train station, the clouds started to part, and I could see a little bit of blue sky, and I thought, this day might turn out all right. And when I got out of the train station, I was out the front of the station, and there was a line of taxis there, and there was an old Ford Mondeo wagon at the head of the line of taxis. And then behind that was a whole bunch of what looked like brand new Mercedes Benz. And I thought, gee, there's some nice cars there. I'll just wait for this Ford Mondeo to get a passenger, and then I'll get in one of these nice Mercedes, and I'll tell the driver where I want to go, and have a nice day. So anyway, I waited, and I'm looking around this train station, and there's just no one around. There's just no one going anywhere near these taxis. So after about, I can't remember, maybe about half an hour or something, the same line of taxis was there. So, I've got to do the right thing. I've got to go to the first car in the front of the line. It's this old Ford Mondeo wagon. So I walk up there to the guy, and I say to him, I want to go to Thal. And I showed him a little picture. I had some pictures, some photos that I downloaded from the net, and a little booklet that I'd made up of the pictures of Arnold's house to show, because I don't speak any German, to show the taxi driver. Anyway, I showed him this picture of Arnold's house, and he didn't know what I was talking about. I showed him another picture from another angle, and he didn't know, and I'm trying to say Arnold, and he's just... Anyway, then I rolled over in my little pad thing that I had, a picture of Arnold. He said, Schwarzenegger, Arnold, there. And he's little skinny, bald Austrian guy. He's flexing his muscles, and he's sort of laughing at me. And, Arnold, yeah, I take you. Yeah. So I jump in the car, jump in the old wagon, and he's talking away, and I'm taking some photos as we're going through Graz on the way to Thal. And he's talking to me as best he could. He didn't have much English. And anyway, it was quite enjoyable, and the clouds were parting, and it was turning out to be quite a nice day. So finally we arrive. I see the sign out the front of Arnold's hometown, Thal. I see this little Thal sign, and we're moving up towards Arnold's house. I could kind of see it in the distance, and I thought, wow, I'm nearly at Arnold's house. This is amazing. I'm in Austria. I'm going to Arnold's hometown, home village, home house. It's just amazing. So we get out the front. We pull up out the front. There's no one around. There's just no one around. And it pulls into a little car park area across from Arnold's house. And Arnold's house is a distinct yellow colour, manicured lawns, beautiful property. And looking at this house and thinking, wow, this is the house that Arnold grew up in. You know, he left Austria in the mid-1960s to go to America, follow his dreams, and this is where he lived with his family, and it's pretty much how it was when he lived there all those years ago. So anyway, I took the taxi driver took a few photos of me out the front of the house, and then I went around the side garden. There was just no one around. Took a few photos in the side garden. The taxi driver took those photos of me. It was very kind of him to do that. And then he took me up the road a little bit. There was an old church, hundreds-of-year-old church that the Schwarzenegger family used to go to. I had a look around the village a little bit, beautiful little village. And then we walked back to the house, took a few more photos, and then someone popped their head out of the second floor. And Arnold's family actually lived on the second floor. They didn't take up the whole house, it was just the second floor. Anyway, this guy poked his head out the window and started yelling in German at this Austrian taxi driver. And the taxi driver was yelling back to him. I had no idea what they were saying. I thought maybe he was upset because I'd gone in the backyard, I'd gone in through the side gate, and I was in the backyard taking some photos, or maybe he was just upset that I was taking photos in the front of the house and he didn't like it. He owned the house, he didn't like it. So there was nothing to say it was Arnold's house. There was nothing, no sign or anything like that. Anyway, the next thing I know, this guy who had been screaming out the top window, the second floor window, he came down, opened the door, he's looking at the taxi driver, he's looking at me, and he says, he's gesturing for me to come in. They weren't yelling at each other, apparently. They were just talking in German, which is kind of loud. And he was asking if I wanted to come in and have a look, and which we did. We walked upstairs and we walked around, and this particular guy that was in the property was a builder, and he was in the process of turning the second floor into an Arnold museum. They'd bought the house, some company had bought the house, and they're turning the property into a museum. And we went into Arnold's bedroom, just like it was all those years ago. This is before the museum was actually built. It was just the very early stages. This builder was working on the museum in the very, very early stages. And I had a look around. The taxi driver took a few more photos of me, and it was just turning out to be an amazing day, an amazing experience. I was happy to be at the house, let alone go inside. I mean, it was just brilliant. And we went back outside, and the taxi driver said, you were gesturing to me, do you want to go to the gym? Or that's what it sounded like. And Arnold trained at the the Graz Athletic Union in Central Graz. And then we got in the taxi, we drove to the gym, and we got to the gym, and we went inside, took me inside, and there was photos of Arnold everywhere. I'd seen photos of this gym before, and there's photos of Arnold everywhere, and there's this little section of the gym. A lot of it was kind of newer equipment, and it had been upgraded probably many times since Arnold trained there, but there's this little section of the gym that had all this old equipment, and the taxi driver, I was talking to one of the guys in the gym that did have a little bit of English, and he came over and he said, this is the equipment that Arnold, this is the actual equipment that Arnold used to use. So I took a few photos of me using this equipment, and it was just a magic day. The point of this story is not to obsess about these major life-changing goals that you have to achieve. It's about taking some moments and following some little dreams. Like, it was always a dream of mine to go to Austria and see where Arnold grew up, and I did that. And it didn't really cost me that much money. I mean, yeah, admittedly I had to get to Europe, but while I was there anyway, I took a train trip and I spent a full day there. It was a beautiful day. I had this really cool taxi driver to show me around. He took me to the gym and Arnold's house, and he did his best to communicate with me, and it was a fantastic experience. It was a real beautiful moment. It was a beautiful day that I had there. But once we left the gym, and we were heading back to the train station. I'd been with this taxi driver for 4 or 5 hours, and we're heading back to the train station. And when we got there, this kind of sad look came over his face, and he's looking at me and he's looking at the meter, and he said, "Oh, no, I didn't turn on the meter." In his best he could to explain to me, he couldn't speak much English. And I said, "That doesn't matter. You just tell me how much it's going to cost, and I'll pay the money. No worries." So he looked at me kind of sadly, and he said, "Oh, well, what about €30? I've been with this guy for hours." So I pulled out €100 and I gave him €100, and I thought I got a bargain for €100. He jumped out of the taxi, he swung around, got round to my door, opened my door, I got out, and he gave me a big hug. And it was just a magic ending to a fantastic day. And look, it wasn't a major goal achieved, but it was a little goal. It was another experience that I can tick off that I did. And just remember that it's not always the super huge goals you need to go for. It can be the little ones that you can tick off your list that add to your experiences in life that you've got for the rest of your life. When I got on the train and we started heading back to Vienna later in the afternoon, I did feel a little bit of sadness come over me, and that sadness was because I'd been to Arnold's house, but I'd never met the man. I'd never met Arnold himself. Anyway, one day years later, I did get to meet Arnold briefly, and I'd like to tell you about that story as well. But just remember, it's not always the big goals. Sometimes it's just about building experiences, and you've got those experiences to draw on for the rest of your life.